I put my trust that you have budgeted for this bucket, and if we're kind of outside the boundaries, you would let me know.
You want to be with someone who is also financially disciplined, who understands why you do what you do with your money. I have this amount of debt. Do you want to take me out?
I mean, that's kind of what you told me, right? When we were like, are you sure you want all this? Like, I have like all this debt. I'm not going to talk about...
I had a plan.
Yeah.
I had a plan to get rid of it.
Yeah. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the 5 money habits millionaires look for in a potential partner. Let's dig into it and share insights. So the first one that this article talks about is they look for financial discipline. And I'm just going to read this quote from this person here. They said, having built a successful business from the ground up, I learned that financial discipline and long-term planning are crucial both in business and personal relationships. For me, one of the most important money habits I value in a partner is financial discipline, the ability to live within their means and make thoughtful, long-term financial decisions. So I feel like before we kind of dig into the article itself, we should share with everyone that we've been married for about 13 years now.
Yes.
So married in 2011 and it's 2024 in 13 years. And from a financial point of view, when it comes with dating, did we ever, I mean, I'm asking you now, did you ever think about the financial background that I had or take that into account when it came to dating?
So, to be clear, we were not millionaires when we were dating or even when we first got married. So like this is talking about what millionaires look for, right? So at the time when we were dating, I think I made some assumptions about you because one, you bought a house, right? And I think at the time you said that your student loans were paid off. Granted, I didn't know all of your educational perks that you got from Florida. I was in the opposite end of the boat. I was just graduating from professional school and I was bringing a lot of debt into this relationship. And so I made assumptions that since you bought a house and your student debts were paid off, I made assumptions that you were disciplined with your money. So
yeah, I think it was revealed that you and I are very homebody people. So we really didn't have much of a lavish kind of lifestyle. We kind of agreed on how we managed life. And I think even when we would have our like little lunch dates, it was very simple, right? No fancy dinners. It was just like, hey, this is the time that we have time to spare because you're working, I'm working. And talk about those Taco Bell runs, right? Like, right. I mean, they were fine. It was more like we were in that dating, courting phase. And we started dating and we never really talked about money, which is really interesting because money is a very strong, sensitive topic that I believe people should talk about.
Right.
But we never talked about it.
Yeah, I think the first time we actually talked about money was after we were engaged.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not what we would recommend for anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out for us, but we know people, and I'm sure people out there know people who, after getting married, figure out the secrets people don't want to know about how you spend your money or what you do with your money. And that can cause a rift in some relationships. For us, I mean, it worked out. We aren't very, like you said, lavish people. So, and that played out, I think, in our dating.
Yeah,
so
I don't think we
didn't. I don't think either of us came into this relationship and then got engaged and then we're like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah.
But I remember we were planning for the wedding, and I knew this wedding had to get paid, and I wasn't in a position to pay for it, and you said you were. So if we were going to make payments.
Yeah, so we really didn't have a plan about our financial future.
No.
We were very fortunate that we both were like-minded, so we really never got pushed in a situation where we had arguments about money.
Right.
We both had common goals, and I think that was to our benefit.
Right.
But in regards to growing wealth, I mean, we thought that stuff was unattainable at that time. We never thought about those things.
Right.
I think our life changed when we had kids.
Yeah.
That's when we're like, okay.
There's more than just us.
Exactly.
There's more than just tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm not saying having kids will solve your financial situation.
No, it just made it more complicated.
Yeah, it did. So.
But I can see why millionaires, they're looking for someone with financial discipline, because if you're already a millionaire and you're going into a relationship, you want to be with someone who is also financially disciplined, who understands why you do what you do with your money.
Yeah.
If you don't want to lose all of it.
I think with the discipline, I mean, we'll see what the article talks about, but when I hear the word discipline, it's about having control.
Right.
Like, you understand when is okay to spend money. You know when to hold back. You can say, hey, I don't have enough money at this time. I'll have to save up.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are good signs to look out for. Does the person that you're pursuing, I mean, there's always this first 3 dates, 4 dates. You're still getting to know that person.
Mm-hmm.
But are those opportunities where you can kind of see these hints like, well, where is this person right now? Or how much debt are they in? Is it consumer? Is it student? I mean, there's always a background story. I'm not saying you totally don't give that person a chance. But these are valuable things to look for in a partner. Someone you can have good conversations with.
Yeah.
And so the next one here is they look for a growth mindset. And I'm a big believer in growth mindset, thinking that when challenges come along the way, you can overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
So especially when it comes to finances, there will be situations where unexpected expense will happen. Something will go wrong, like you might get in a car accident. How do we look at these surprising events? Are we totally down in the mud saying, oh my goodness, how am I going to pay for this? Right.
Is any event make it or break it?
Correct, yeah.
And if you feel like one singular event is going to break you, now I think you have a problem. And if you can't even talk about it with your partner, then it's not a match.
I totally agree, because especially when it comes to marriage, there's a saying, it's not how the marriage is when things are going well, but it's also how you guys deal with when trials come. And so with the growth mindset, believing that you two can work together, I think is really beneficial. So if your potential partner has a way of looking forward versus like always thinking negatively, I mean, that self can either also boost you up or also take you down as well. Here's another one here. The third one here is they look for transparency. So this person says here, another habit I value is financial transparency. When someone is open about their financial situation, it builds trust and creates a solid foundation for future planning. So from the dating phase, especially when we talked about that bank account, that I don't feel like I was transparent. Money is a very personal thing. I think people in general, they don't want to reveal how much they make, or they want to make sure that the person that they are courting or dating are in it for the quote-unquote right reasons, right? They're not in it for the money. So being transparent, I feel like there is a line to walk. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. What do you think?
Like fully transparent? Like if you're just dating? Yeah, I don't think you need to know how much money I make, or how much I was going to make.
What about like college debt or
So I mean, just personally,
yeah,
I was very, very transparent about that, and just with anybody who would listen.
Maybe college debt, maybe consumer debt, right? Like I guess going to the credit cards, that could reveal about spending habits.
So now we're talking about like personality.
Yeah.
I'm a very transparent person.
Yes, yeah.
It's very hard for me to lie, and sometimes I don't realize the consequences of what I say. So when it came to consumer debt, I wasn't ashamed of what I did have. I think the hard part for me was when people would try to tell me how to get rid of it. And it's like, you don't know what situation I'm in right now. Like, it's easy for you to say how to get rid of it, you know, or even understand why I went into consumer debt while I was in school. But yeah, being transparent. My book is open, so I think that becomes a personality thing and a trusting thing.
Yeah, it's when you're dating, you don't want it to be like an interview,
right? Yeah. And I think it does come with time, but I feel like, so we've watched reality TV, right? And there was this couple, and they're getting married, and the other one had no idea that their partner was in such consumer debt. Like, it was a big surprise. And the other person just assumed, oh, they're borrowing money from me. It's not a big deal. Like, we're going to get married. It's all okay. But I think there does come a point where if you are drowning in consumer debt and you even feel like it's a problem, I feel like that's when you should share it with your partner, because at that point you're planning a future with this person, right? And so if you feel like you have to hold back some information, there's a red flag there, right? And yeah.
So we've kind of talked about the debt side, right? The kind of the cautionary tale. What about sharing financial goals, right? Saying, hey, I see myself like this in 5 or 10 years. Do you feel like those are worthy conversations you have with a potential partner?
I think so, especially if they're career oriented, because then it gives you a chance to think, okay, if that's your goal, do we want to have kids? When do we want to have kids? How is this going to like line up? And not everything necessarily goes to plan, right? But at least it gives you an idea of what life will be like with this person. Are they going to be studying a lot? Like, this is fun, we're dating, but like we're at work right now, but you're aspiring for more. What does that require? Does that require you to go back to school? Okay, so how are we going to finance that?
Yeah.
Right? Because now we're doing this while we're married. So I think it is valid to talk about future aspirations.
So the next one here says, they look for self-control. And quoting here says, someone who understands the difference between needs and wants and doesn't impulsively splurge shows that they have a handle on their financial future. So we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, how's that different than...
Yeah. So I looked at this earlier, and so self-control, and we're going to skip the next one also, says they look for living within your means. And this kind of gets underneath the umbrella of financial discipline. So I totally agree that a potential partner needs to know when to slow down, because there's a lot of material things, and nothing wrong with buying stuff, but I don't think things need to be spent immediately.
Right.
That there's the delay of instant gratification. I mean, for us, I think financially we were fine, stable. Life was okay, no big complaints, right? We lived very simple lives, frugal lives. And then when we defined what our why was, that really just turned everything upside down. I mean, in a good way.
Right.
We looked at life differently. We cared more about our kids than, because we were okay, we were on autopilot, and then we became in a wealth building journey, and then from there we started doing real estate together. And from that project alone, in my personal opinion, I think it really did wonders for our marriage, because it's a project that we got to work
new.
together.
We were both learning.
Yeah. So the next one here, avoid impulse spending.
I think we do that though, but on a very small scale.
What's that?
Just like impulsive spending. So like if there's a craft or something that I really want to try and it's like $60, I just might buy it.
Well,
but it's like, it's not $1,000.
Well, I put my trust that you have budgeted for this bucket, and if we're kind of outside the boundaries, you would let me know. So I think like last week, right, I said, hey, we just stopped by the bank. do you want to go to this coffee place that I heard about? And I think if it was one out of our way from time, or he said, hey, it's going to impact our budget because we have set aside, I'm totally okay with that. I kind of rely on
coffee never breaks our budget because we make so much of it at home that going out once in a while to have coffee, not a problem.
So this, then the going here, it says I don't like this wording here. They avoid a lack of savings. So like double negative.
So then they have savings.
Yeah.
So they look for someone who has a savings.
Yeah. So the next one here is like avoid excessive debt. I mean, in an umbrella of things, right? I think these are good things to look for in a spouse. It's just how to get into that personal conversation. Because one, when you meet someone for the first time, you're trying to put your best foot forward. You don't want to kind of say, hey,
I have this amount of debt. Do you want to take me out?
I mean, that's kind of what you told me, right? When we were like, are you sure you want all this? Like, I have like all this debt. We're not going to talk about...
I had a plan.
Yeah.
I had a plan to get rid of it.
Yeah, we did have a plan. We started having a plan after we were married, right? So.
No, I had a plan to get rid of it.
Yeah. But I think after we're married, I was saying, okay, if I continue to work here and like get all these bonuses, like I made these assumptions, which is not the right way to do it, right?
Yeah.
But so going back to everyone, like we did not have everything. We did not have a plan, but we do, looking back, think that it is important that when you are dating or getting to know someone, money should come up somewhere in the conversation, right? I mean, if we would hate someone to get a divorce over money, it's better to be on the same page with your finances, understand the same goals, so that's not really a surprise.
I think though, even if like there are couples out there who are currently together and they have this secret about money, whether that's a lot of money or a lot of debt, I think it's still also a personal choice to share it. And just for the other person, if it is shared, this is obviously someone that you care about. And so to be willing to listen, not get upset, like, why didn't you tell me about this? I mean, you might want to know, like, why, but not in an angry way, Try to remember that this is someone that you care about, not necessarily someone you're currently dating, but let's say you're past that, you're married already, you're in a committed relationship, just to be open to hearing what that person has to say, because again, this is someone that you already care about, you've already committed to. Is there a way to go forward together because this person shared it with you? I
think you said something really important, and you made me think about what is someone's root of their current habits. I mean, you said listen, right? And I do think that trying to understand how someone grew up with money, it could be someone else's could be very different from how another person grew up. That could be a difference that could, not saying is the root of a problem to avoid, but each partner, especially when they're trying to work together, they need to find that way to communicate and understand everyone's situation. For us, we both grew up in, how do you say it? Thrifty households growing up.
Yeah, I think you more so than me.
Yeah.
And so even that difference, I had to learn, like where, like I didn't understand what the big deal was with some of these things. I mean, like something as simple as buying a plane ticket.
Yeah.
Early in our engagement, we had family out, like that we have to travel and visit. So you got to buy a plane ticket. You can't avoid, unless you wanted to drive, but we didn't have a lot of time. But like even just to buy a plane ticket, that was a learning lesson for me too. Like you really just did not want to handle it. I was like, okay, I'll do it.
And once again, like we're talking about these things to someone who might benefit it, in their situation. But reflecting back on our life, like our lives, we really didn't have everything figured out. I think even recently, I mean, you're doing like your sleuthing and understanding my background, but like you once said to me, oh, I get it now. It took like years for you to go, oh, I get it now. And your mind's like, oh, when you mapped it out for me, I go, oh yeah, that makes sense now. Yeah. So for all our viewers out there, what are some money habits that you look for in a potential partner, and what are some red flags that you try to avoid? So put your comments below, and we thank you for your time.